All news here tonight, an 18-year-old is facing charges after officers say he fought them while responding to a large fight at the Louisville skate park last month.
And a skate park near downtown Louisville is scaling back its hours. The park was the only Metro-owned park open 24 hours.
Oh, I've been skating since I was 4 years old, actually. My older brother had a skateboard. No, I was actually born in Texas, and I moved all around the states. Initially a job painting houses that I don't have anymore. Actually, Sean Jones, I came out of my house one day, and he was skating a little rail outside. I was going to get some cigarettes, and I was like, dude, we're skating that when I get back. And then he was like, there's actually a skate park downtown, and we started taking the bus after that.
No, it was whenever the old park, it had the old style bowl, it had fucking, I don't know, it was way more radder, just people, and there's more people around the extra road.
I mean, I've had a few homies celebrate their birthdays up there that were pretty good times. The No Comply concerts are always a great time. Every 4th of July, the homie buys like $5,000 worth of fireworks. That's always a great time. Man, I genuinely just enjoy myself every time I'm there for the most part. It's like a form of stress relief. That's what I go there for.
I rode skateboards there for a little bit, but no, I was mostly all bike. I didn't really start riding bikes until 2012, 2013. Just chill, have a good time with my friends. It's really pretty much all it's about, dude. Plus, it's more for just me, too. It's something for me just to get away from everything and do shit, you know, just have fun.
I started coming here because I started going to school over here, and it was really nice to see that there are people from all walks of life, and I learned a lot about other people's cultures and how no one's really that different from each other.
So when I was 7 years old, my cousin was a really good skateboarder at the time, and I really looked up to him. So he kind of got me into skateboarding, and I got my first board through him. So he's the one who taught me how to ollie all the way up to ollieing up ledges, and he's the one who really sparked like that fire in me to, do something and continue doing it for so long. So this skate park specifically is, I think, really special. It's been here a long time, and it's been a huge staple for skateboarding in Louisville. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest transition vert parks in probably a range of a couple states now. There's nothing like this up in Indiana where I grew up. So being able to come here and skate a rail or skate a 3-foot quarter all the way up to a 12, 13-foot vert ramp is something that really challenges you and kind of helps you kind of push your limits and kind of see what you're capable of.
No, I grew up in California. Yeah, Southern California. And I started skating. I moved here about 8 years ago, but I didn't start actually skating until about 3 or 4 years ago. I ice skated for a while back in high school, and that kind of just got me going into liking skating in general. And then a few years ago, because I'm a type 1 diabetic, my doctor told me I had to figure out a way to exercise. I hate gyms, so it was the same point of COVID, and I was like, you know what, let me hop on this roller skate train, and I mean, instantly fell in love with it, and it's been to the point where I'm skating every day now, so.
Everyone's so open, and everyone you talk to is, they don't look at you with a certain, they don't, there's no baggage in the way they look at you. They just look at you as if you're just like them. And that makes it really easy to get to know people here. And obviously skating, it's really easy to run over it, and skate something with someone else, and have a great time. But I've made so many friends, and that we've been able to group together and do other activities like camping, and just going out and stuff. I can't, I'm so grateful for this park just because of how much it's opened me, and I've matured as a person, interacting and experiencing different things. that I wouldn't be able to experience if I wasn't at this park.
It was like put all over the news and newspapers, the first 24-hour skate park. But right now it's not open. The lights turn off at 11.
Almost shootings, actual shootings.
Homeless people shooting and shit.
Oh, they're still shooting, nigga? Oh, shit just flew past my feet. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit.
Fights in general, I've watched plenty of my friends get into fist fights up there. Had to break those up a few times. Man, the skate park's cool, but it is also just kind of cliquey. So like if you don't fit into a certain group, you'll probably just get shunned away pretty fast, you know, unless you're just willing to be there on your own, which is fine, but it gets awkward really fast. It used to be fun to be there, and now you just have to I feel like you have to be on a 3-point stance if you're there now, because you never know when a dickbag on a dirt bike's gonna show up and start popping wheelies across the skate park, or just random stuff, like people coming up there just to drink, no skateboard, no bike, no scooter, no rollerblades, just up there to get drunk, and they all got guns on them, and it's just a stressful environment now. I'd say the most recent was on the 4th of July. Some homies were throwing around mortar shells, and a guy threw his dirt bike down, cracked his transfer case, and him and a group of his friends ran over to the homie and was clutching their waistbands, and it was really almost a shootout, but luckily we were able to talk it out, and it kind of calmed down. We just ended up going to the river after that. So it's still, the skate park was still just like, we can't stay here now, you know what I mean?
So from what I remember is a lot of the local skaters had everything set up to go and have a big fireworks show down there. Everything was going great, and if I recall correctly, at a certain point a firework ended up hitting one of the dirt bike riders' bikes and really messed it up, which started kind of an all-out war against the dirt bike riders and the skateboarders and skaters down there, because their instant reaction was wanting to clutch their guns and pull them out and start fighting with people. So I know a lot of my friends and a lot of the people I know down there own guns. That's fine. I can tell you that was the first time in the years that I've known them that I've actually seen them have to pull them out, getting ready to defend themselves and us. That was, I'm getting goosebumps saying it right now. It was a terrifying moment, and yeah. There were 2 other nights that I was down there pretty late at night, and it wasn't necessarily a big incident, but young kids came up there, ARs hanging on their waistband, ended up shooting, and I remember having to actually jump into the bowl one night because they were right down at the street below us, just shooting up at the park. For why? I couldn't tell you.
No, hell no. It's just outside people just coming in there. They're not here to really ride or do nothing. They're just here chilling, just wanting to start trouble type deal. I mean, there's people that come up here and hang out and stuff, but then there's just people that ride dirt bikes up here and cause havoc, and I've seen them run into people and shit like that, and it's kind of fucked up because you can really fucking seriously hurt somebody with them.
Not people in the skate community necessarily. You're gonna have just random people from the city walking through, young kids, dirt bike riders, people driving cars into the park. I mean, you name it, it's gone through there, unfortunately. Yeah, they've been a huge majority of the problem, unfortunately. They will all show up in a pack of 20 and just take over the park. They stop people from being able to skate because they are not only just doing circles around the park, they are actually going into the bowls people are skating in. They are zooming past us so quick that they are basically almost hitting us. It's very scary.
Mostly it was just Friday nights, Saturday nights, drunk people roaming around downtown and would end up over here smashing bottles and being jerks, and we'd have to kick them out. It wasn't a huge issue, but as time went on, it started to get worse. People would bring up their motorcycles, and it'd be super loud and just a bunch of drunk people everywhere, and it just has progressively gotten worse.
I've never been here, when a lot of the bad stuff has gone on here at the skate park. I normally come here and leave before the sun goes down, which is normally when a lot of like the reckless activity comes in. I know what's happened here, and I know what's still going on here, and I'm hoping that it hopefully, dies out and maybe moves to a different part of town. But it's hard when you have an area like this in Louisville that is almost a lawless area. Cops don't patrol this area as much as they should, and it's just a big open area in an industrial part of Louisville. So it's gonna happen. It's Louisville. It's just part of it. You kind of got to just accept it. Nowadays, it hasn't been that bad. I've been here a couple times when kids are shooting music videos and they're waving around guns. I heard about the gang shooting just right behind us not too long ago. And, people bring their kids here. People bring, from all ages, kids starting to skate, kids riding around on their butt. Families come here from out of town just to see the skate park. So the last thing you would ever want is someone bringing their kid here for the first time and someone getting shot, someone getting injured, someone slipping out and falling and landing on a shard of glass. We were skating the 13-foot bowl here earlier, and in order to skate that bowl, I had to spend about 30 minutes sweeping and blowing out glass bottles that were shattered down there. And on my way out, I actually had a mom and a dad who thanked me because their kid wanted to roll down into the bowl on his butt on his skateboard. Which obviously would, not been very safe. It could have ended really badly just because of what goes on here and how people treat the skate park.
I've had slight beef with randoms here and there, but nothing that ever came to blows or anything like that. Just dumb shit, you know what I mean? Like, people come up spray painting the park, we chase them off. Homeless people come up acting crazy. One time a dude walked up to the skate park fully butt naked, and we had to call the cops on him. Kids everywhere, you know what I mean? Like, you can't be up here like that, dude. That's crazy.
I think if we have more cops checking up on the park on nights where it's more likely for people to be partying and coming out here, just to come and make sure everything's okay. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it is. It is at nighttime, but it's usually around fucking 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And there's really nobody for real riding, and there's just people just hanging out here just because the lights are on and shit.
The fist fights calmed down a lot. There used to be a lot more fist fights over basically nothing, but the overall vibe of the skate park is absolutely worse than it used to be, 1,000%.
There was fights, but it was never to the level of what it is now, I guess. I don't really know. I'm not down here that late to see what goes on at night anymore, but I hear about it all the time. Early mornings and mid-afternoons when the rest of the homies are getting off work and want to skate is when I'm out skating with them. But none of us, the older heads now, don't tend to come out past midnight to go skating anymore. Me, yeah, I mean, also I've been skating my whole life since I was a little kid, so it was the first big park to go to other than the little shitty park that we used to have before the new Breslin. There was an old Breslin that was pretty bad.
If it's not this park, I try to skate rather here or a private vert ramp 2 to 3 days a week. There's been a lot of really good events that's happened here for the skateboard community. There was a Death Wish skate demo here not too long ago, which was really awesome. It brought a lot of skaters out, it brought all the local guys out, and a lot of kids from out of town just to come here, enjoy skateboarding for what it is, enjoy the park for what it is, and see professionals skate the park the way people want to skate it. Apart from that, they've held countless events here over the years, and I think they've definitely kind of died down a bit ever since the crime has gone up around in this area. But after that Death Wish demo, and here soon for Halloween, they're having another skate contest and some bands out to play music and, just have a good time, skate, hang out, for what skateboarding is meant to be,
The first actual skate park was probably the New Albany skate park, or now it's the Flow Park, but the original New Albany Park, that was probably the first one that I went to, and then ended up going to Breslin because it was just closer in the neighborhood. The first iteration of Breslin, that is, when they still had the pool over there, and it was like the half pipe that was like in the ground, just like some little ramps and stuff that were on a paved pad. So I started working at Home Skate Shop in 2008, second iteration of the downtown park, the phase 2 kind of thing where the street course was added and whatnot. Just being involved at the shop in those meetings, the city always comes to us and kind of asks our opinion since we are the shop in the city.
So I'm personally not connected with Home Skate Shop. I've been going there for the last couple of years to get all the equipment I need, whether it's a deck or bearings, shoes. They do such a good job for the community here. I mean, they are one of 2 skate shops in our area that provides everything that skateboarders would want a skate shop to carry. So they're really awesome guys. I know them a little bit, not too well, but they're doing everything right.
I mean, we been around since '94 and have had a lot of experience with skateboarding in this city. And even before that, with my grandmother's shop, I mean, she opened in '88, and a lot of those folks that grew up in her shop are still around and doing their thing and somewhat involved, which is great to have that many generations of skateboarders in this city. But yeah, it was I don't know, I mean, you just kind of like talk to the developers, you get involved with going to the meetings, and it's cool that most of the time they ask, like, what do you want to see? Like, what do you think about this? Do you want to put this rail here? Do you want to do?
I didn't know they were super involved in everything that goes on here. I knew they were involved in organizing skate events, but as far as I know, they've had a couple hearings, like city council meetings for skateboarding in different parks around the area and kind of what goes on, especially the crime, and trying to make this place a better place to come and skate for all ages.
We are here to be the hub for skateboarding. There are so many different groups of skateboarders and crews of skateboarders that come in here before they go meet up. This is the meetup spot. This is I got to get a board before we go street skate. So, hey, just meet me at the shop. And that was a huge, huge thing for keeping us in the Highlands like this, because we feel like the Highlands is pretty much the central area for all the little neighborhoods. I don't know, this doesn't exist without skateboarders and skateboarding. So, I mean, this shop is what the community wants to make of it. I mean, even though I'm the owner on paper, I just work for the skate shop. Like I said, I'm the third owner. I'm not, there's gonna be hopefully somebody after me that can keep this going. It's all community driven. It's amazing, like the contests and things that we get to throw and the pros that we get to bring into town and videos that we work on. I mean, we've probably done 5 or 6 videos at this point throughout. I mean, of course, we used to put out DVDs, but now you think you can get the last couple ones, like Townies, and Ryan Tassi did a few copies on that last video, but yeah, I don't know, we're just here to provide all of the stuff that the internet can't. There is a lot of things that we carry here that are exclusive to small skateboard shops just like us. And also, like, not even just for skateboarders, like working with local artists, like giving them a platform, doing different board graphics, t-shirt graphics. Even though this is a skateboard shop, it's like one of the few places that you can go and there's a shoe wall like that. I mean, you can go to the mall, I guess, but where else in the city can you like buy Converse, Nike, New Balance, Vans, like, and all of it being not the normal Converse or the normal Vans? Like the skate iterations of all of these companies are so unique and cool. yeah, I just like being able to provide that kind of stuff. And I don't know if it's dying in the younger generation. I'm only 35, but I don't know if it's dying in the younger generations about wanting to go somewhere and like try a shoe on. Like I have to try shoes on. Like unless it's a shoe that I've had already and I know like, okay, I can order that exact shoe. I have to try shoes on, especially after skating all these years. My feet are so messed up. And then boards too. I mean, even though they all look like they're just popsicles or whatever, they all have different concaves, different noses and tails, steepness, mellowness. Like there's a lot of stuff out there. So I always want to be able to like see it in person. And a lot of times too, you can't even get that stuff. You know, like all the deluxe brands like Real, Anti-Hero, Crooked, Spitfire, Venture, Thunder, they will not sell that stuff to you direct to customer. You have to go to a skateboard shop and buy that stuff. Unlike some of these other companies that have not been able to hold out and you can just go to www whatever, buy a board and grip, but then you get the board and it's warped. You're like, well, probably should have gone and seen it in person and stood on it. I don't know where they're keeping these boards, or you know, it's just, yeah, I'm glad to have a place that we can keep doing this. And I grew up in this shop, so all my memories are with this shop, and I'm incredibly thankful that the community continues to support it, and we'll keep supporting the community. Yeah, that's I guess, like, yeah. And in all skate shops, like anywhere that you go and you find like a little skate shop like this, they're doing the same thing we are. It's just part of how skateboarding works. It's really cool. It's really special. So that's cool, but the problem with the second phase of the downtown park was that there's the federal highway right there. Well, first of all, we know that the second phase of the downtown park was only because they wanted to build the new highway system. And the original skate park was in the way of trying to finish that new Spaghetti Junction thing. So I don't know if it was, I personally think the original park is like, because that's what I grew up with, and that was like home. New park, it's cool, it's fine. It has a lot more, you know, like street elements at least, like built in, which is cool now. But they're all like very squished together because we have the federal highway that we can't build up to a certain degree. We have both of those streets being Witherspoon and Clay that kind of just lock us in, as well as there's an LG&E easement that's that whole big green space that sits right there at the corner. That's why there's those crazy like quarter pipe looking things at the very bottom. That's like the very edge where the LG&E easement starts. So that second phase was a big challenge because of all of that and having very tight space. And of course, like having to rebuild the full pipe due to what was written in the federal grant for that park originally. You know, it had to be replaced. I forget how the wording is. But anyway, I mean, it is a wild place. It's almost like, what is it, Alexandria or Christiania in Copenhagen. And it's like just like anarchy in a really good way for the most part. You know, we all kind of just run it. But recently it's been like getting real out of hand, and it's a bummer. The city can't do anything about it other than turn lights off. I've sat in meetings and had police chiefs and sergeants say, you know, there's absolutely no way that the LMPD can staff 24/7 police down there. It's kind of a scary thing, but and what can we do? There's been ideas about it, but I mean, ultimately, nothing's being done quick, that's for sure. It's being done in a very government way, of course. So my grandmother had a couple employees that after she closed up wanted to kind of keep doing a skateboard shop in the city. home skate shop popped up in '94 down on Rogers and Baxter. My uncle, Tom Horning, and his friend Derek Metton, who Derek was one of the store managers for my grandma at Skateboards Unlimited, they took it over and really like injected life into it. Tom, having his history with being a professional skateboarder, had a lot of great industry folks to be able to work with. We were one of the very first Nike SB accounts back in 2002 when all that started. I mean, we even carried the Xavier shoes, which was Nike's like pre-skate shoe before they decided to label it Nike. It was this whole idea that, you know, if we put Nikes on the shelf, it's going to be a huge pushback from skateboarders because, you know, Nike is all corporate or whatever. So they created this company, Xavier, and kind of like got themselves in there and started figuring it out, and then just dropped the Nike SB bomb, which was what we're still living through right now. But yeah, then I started working for Tom and Derek in 2008. I left to do wine and spirit buying for Gordo at Old Town Wine and Spirits, which is just a couple doors down from the last home skate shop location. Around in 2016, Tom came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in, you know, carrying the torch on and continuing home skateboard shop. And so I bought it from him and Derek, and I've been doing it, since 2016. Was able to move down here to the location that we're in now in September of 2020, and just been rocking, keeping those doors open and keeping boards gripped, and it's a great thing to be able to do. I love doing this. It's like I don't see myself doing anything else. Sometimes it's rough because as you get older, it gets harder to skateboard, of course, just like anything else that's active like that. And especially after you've been dealing with it for 10 hours a day, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'm off work now. Do I really want to go skateboard? Like, it's hard sometimes. But there's always ways to find like new spark, and you just have to keep moving forward and just keep positive about it. I mean, like these new parks that we're in the middle of doing, that definitely keeps the spark alive and gives me a different avenue to skateboarding without just doing business stuff or just riding a skateboard. So that's a lot of fun too. Opening day. I actually, hold on a second, I'll see if I can find this thing. That's me right there. That's my buddy Joe, Thomas, Marty, and Evan. We're in the home skate shop that was where Dirty T's t-shirt shop is. So 2 locations ago. That's the original idea for the Dave Armstrong Park. It was going to be in 3 different phases. The wild thing I think the city wasn't ready for was the Tony Hawk Boom Boom Huff Jam. They just kind of figured, skateboards, like whatever, they'll be fine. And it was, tore the roof off, so to speak. Yeah, skateboarding is a lot bigger than people were giving it credit for back then. Man, just being a skateboarder, and just all we had was New Albany Park and Breslin, and all we would do is just skate around the Highlands and go downtown and skate. Before the 4th Street Live was there, we had a Galleria, and there was it was kind of just like a little downtown mall situation. So we'd ride the TARC bus down there and just mess around, street skate. Before they redid the Belvedere, there was a bunch of really fun stuff you could skate down there too. The city's changed a lot, spots come and go, but to have a central 24/7 skate park, lights or not, it's there all the time. You could go whenever and just skate. That was just, and to have top of the line obstacles and skate park builders doing it. It was just something that we always wanted but never thought it would happen, kind of thing. And then reality started to hit when you pull up and you walk up those 3 stairs and you just see it. It's pretty awe. Almost just takes the words right out of your mouth, honestly. Now it's kind of like a big mess, but back then, before the graffiti, and it took a long time before graffiti started happening down there. It took a long time. be interesting to know like right when that shift happened, like how many years it was up until we just started getting thrashed with paint down there. Because it's a bummer because the paint makes skateboarding really hard, like it's really slippery. And you know, that's something that artists don't think about sometimes, I guess. I mean, when we were first going down there, the Clarksdale projects were still around, so there was a lot of kids from the projects coming down there, and you know, just that clash of worlds, because being the only centralized huge skate park in the whole city, everybody from the south end, the east end, west end, from the, you know, from Indiana, from LaGrange, from Fairdale, like everybody was going to this one central place. And that caused a lot of problems in some ways. Most of the time it was all good, but it was a lot of, you know, kids trying to steal bikes and skateboards and, you know, people not putting up with that kind of stuff, and just lots of fights happening. And I mean, but that, you know, it's in the middle of the city. Like, what do you expect? That's kind of what happened. And I honestly think that, like, if we could trade that for what's happening now, that would be an easy trade. I'd do that in a heartbeat. I mean, it's so much easier to like put your fists up and just like, you know, have at it rather than shoot somebody. That's just so absurd. Yeah, it really wasn't. I mean, there's a lot of individual incidents, of course, but like, you know, I don't want to like, everybody's kind of like entitled to their privacy when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't want to talk too much about them. But yeah, it definitely has escalated, but it's always been kind of rough like that down there, for sure. Yeah, I don't care. That's my skate park. I mean, not mine, like I'm a skateboarder, and that's where I get to go. That's my thing. That's what I mean when I say my park. Yeah, dude, like I'm not gonna stop going down there, that's for sure. Might not go down there as much now that we're doing like all these other kind of parks, just because it's a little bit easier, and sometimes it is a little bit of a headache when you go down there. A couple of weeks ago, I was down there skating in the morning, and it was only like 11 o'clock. It wasn't, you know, right about this time. There's like some folks kind of doing their thing over by the bathrooms or whatever, and there's a guy like up on the full pipe, shirt off, his little electrodes still on him, hospital wristband still. He's like doing Tai Chi, it looks like, on the top of the full pipe, which that's fine. Like, I don't care. He's not bothering me. He's not bothering anybody. But I guess he escaped or something, or did something else, because here comes a cop car pulling up. And the cop pulled up right in front of the ledge that I'm trying to skate, just totally oblivious to it. And he's, you know, talking to the guy, come here. Guy comes down. They try to interact, and the guy with his shirt off that the cop's trying to talk to, he grabs my coffee because it's just close to him. I had a coffee and a water right there. Grabs my coffee, and I'm like, oh, yo, that's my coffee. Please don't mess with it. And, you know, the cop's like, yeah, that's his coffee. Put it down. And then the guy with his shirt off, like, runs right up to me and gets right in my face, and just like, whoa, man, it's not even noon yet. Like, I'm not even warmed up. Like, I'm just trying to ride my skateboard, and like, you know, for an hour before I have to go to work or something. And whew, it's just, you know, it wasn't that big of a deal, but yeah, maybe I'm just more used to that, because if that was maybe somebody else, that could be a little scary maybe. You know, and it's just like a mental thing. You're just like, oh, well, just dealt with that. Don't really feel like skating anymore. It's like, I don't know. It's but I still go down there. You know, it's just, you never know what you're gonna get. And that's just because it's in the middle of the city like that. You go to the Breslin skate park, there's probably gonna be like 2 or 3 younger kids there, or maybe like a little family with like some little kids on skateboards that are trying for their first time. But Breslin is super opposite of Downtown Park. And that's what we're hoping to like continue to do in different neighborhoods, is just give these already existing parks, you know, more skateboard features, or like an opportunity for the kids in that neighborhood to have a skateboard feature. I mean, sure, you have tennis courts, basketball goals, splash areas, jungle gyms, why not have like a ledge and a little quarter pipe? Doesn't have to be crazy, but just like give the kids something to mess with so they don't have to jump on 2 different TARC buses and transfer all the way to the downtown skate park, you know, especially now in the summertime. If the light situation doesn't get figured out, we're gonna end up having the hottest times in the day where we can't skate. That's the only time the lights are, you know, or the only time we can see because it's light out. And then by 11 o'clock, when everybody's really going to be able to skate, because it's finally cooling off, it's still going to be 90 degrees.
We all know how brutal Kentucky summers are. So when it hits the time of year where it's warm, the only times we have to skate down there where we're not dying from heat is at nighttime. And it's like as soon as sunset hits, the lights are going off. So that has been the biggest thing, is we took a place to skate away from so many people, because say you work 2 p.m. till 10 p.m. You get off, you get down there at 10:45, those lights are going off 15 minutes later. And what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I need those lights down there for that. I just hope that the ideas that we've been coming up with in this skate park committee group, we've had a couple meetings and seems like we're getting some good traction. There's a lot of, the city loves that park and they do want to do what they can. They just, it's huge. It's 40,000 square feet of holy shit. It's pretty hard to like get a rope on that, as well as where they built it. You know, it's like up on a bluff. So anybody that's up there at the skate park can basically see where cops are coming from, or where, you know, their enemies or people, you know, whoever they might want to shoot at or whatever. It's like King of the Hill kind of thing, you know, just watching. Trying to come up with new barriers. That's something that's been talked about in these meetings. There's a lot of weakness in the perimeter of the skate park that we could definitely close up and make a little bit harder for motorized vehicles to get up in there. Make it a lot safer for everybody who's there. Of course, you're not going to stop everybody. And dirt bikes, you know, like dirt bikes can just do anything. But at least it would stop full sedans from being driven down into the middle of the skate park, or all of the street bikes and stuff like that popping up and all those people hanging out and doing what they're doing. It's just not a place for that. And we're really hoping that a lot of that negative space that's over by the bathrooms, like the pedestrian kind of area, or that was the idea for it in the beginning of the skate park. You know, when we throw contests, this is where all the kids will be. And it was like that. Like for a lot of demos and things throughout all these years that we've had, it definitely helps with some crowd control stuff. But for the most part, people are just walking through the skate park. Like, you're skating this ledge and here they are just like walking right through it. And you're like, why are these barriers even here if people aren't going to pay attention to it? So we're just going to cut some of those barriers out and reintegrate some new obstacles in all of that flat negative space. So it just becomes a big skate park again. It won't have any weird pedestrian area where people can hang out. You know, there'll be boards like shooting out everywhere. No protection for their motorcycles or their cars or whatever they're bringing up there. So hopefully that will start to deter them and they'll just go find a parking lot somewhere. I mean, yeah.
I was interested in skating from a young age, probably because of like Jackass. Just watching the dudes on there jump over shit and do whatever. I got interested in that at a young age. I was never really good at it. But I really tried my hand around like 2018. I got pretty heavy into skating, and that was definitely killed by COVID. But that led me to the downtown park, where I eventually made my way into the music scene, made the connections that I did, and started working on trying to bring shows out of like that dead period, pretty much. And that's kind of what birthed No Comply.
For me, I mostly got involved just through No Comply. So by hobby and passion, I'm not necessarily a skater. A tall, big-footed person doesn't quite work for balance. I mean, I think for me, I appreciate communities in general, and the fact that there very much is a culture that is unique to that skate park, and it has its own unspoken rules and etiquette, and there's just something about, to me, I've always like absolutely loved like third spaces outside of work and outside of home, and I think that's like a very vital one to a lot of like the sort of like, you know, punk, I don't want to say anti-authoritarian necessarily, but just, you know, sort of counterculture elements of like Louisville's sort of cityscape.
So I started skating when I was like 11, I think, because my friend got me into it. He lived down the street and he got a board one day. And so naturally I had to go get one. So I remember my first board was like, I think an Element. And I think from there, we started skating at the U of L, like, it's like the university kind of area, because it's like got some really nice street spots right there. But I don't think I found the downtown skate park until I was like 12, something like that. It was definitely before the bowl was built, because I remember like going and like playing around in all the construction and stuff when they were like actually building the full bowl. So I guess like it was like 11 or 12, but I mean I've gone on and off skating and like drumming and stuff. So I'm a drummer. If I break anything, I'm out of commission. So I just haven't been as into it as I was. But I think I got into skating at like a young age.
I remember seeing a video on Snapchat of some guy who went to my high school getting in a fight with a guy and like punching him in the face, and then the guy falling into like the snake bowl that was there. And I was like, oh, that's a place I want to check out.
I just remember, I'm the token old of the group, so I just remember it being built, in all honesty. Which, you know, I thought that, I don't know, it was just fucking cool that they were actually building something like that in Louisville, other than using that space for another high-end like hotel or museum or something, actually building something for the people who live here rather than the tourists who come in once a year.
I grew up in Wilder Park. It's kind of like right next to Churchill Downs. So we were going to like Central Station to skate, University. I think we got kicked out of a couple businesses. There's like factories like near our house where we were like skating mainly. And the police showed up every single time. So there was this place that like my friends was talking to us about. He said there was a downtown skate park that we could go to. And you know, I was just like, okay, a place we can go to and not get yelled at or screamed at for, you know, doing this. So it was kind of like a thing for all of our buddies to like get together, because we used to ride down there on skateboard and on bike, and we would just truck it downtown, like down 3rd Street, until you hit the spot to turn and then go to the skate park. So I kind of found out about it through word of mouth, but it was after getting kicked out of a bunch of other locations that we probably should not have been skating in. The bowl didn't used to be there. It used to be like, I don't even remember what it used to look like, but it didn't, the whole left side of the park didn't exist either. I mainly just know about the gun thing. Like I saw somebody shooting at like the highway wall or something. It was on somebody's like story.
Well, there was that, I think, yeah, well, there was that one video of like Will, well, the one where like Will had to take cover with all of them. But no, he showed me the video of like him and I think it was like Clayton or a bunch of our friends. Like there was like a night where someone had like what seemed like an automatic weapon, just like playing GTA down there. And I think it's well known through a large portion of the city, even through non-skaters, that like you got nothing to do, 4th of July at the park,
go there.
Lose an arm, lose an eye. Like, well, there was like, I mean, I think I speak for everyone. There was like an outcry. Like there was, again, like even independent of the skating scene, it was like you couldn't avoid the outcry that precipitated after all that went down on social media of like, they've shut the park down in response to this. This is like a total fumble on the city's part. This is not the approach that we need. Like, you know, parks, I saw a slogan that really stuck with me of like 24/7 parks are like our mental health or something like that, you know, whereas but yeah, no, people were rightfully incensed about that. And I remember seeing all of that on like Instagram, and I mirrored those sentiments that, you know, if there were problems with the downtown park, shutting it down it punishes like predominantly the skaters.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't help solve that issue in any way, shape, or form.
You're penalizing those who weren't responsible.
Correct. Yeah. So
a lot of bad things, I think, you know, can happen there. But in all my experience, like skaters and like BMX people and like people that use that park don't want that. Like they don't want people to drive like vehicles into the bowl, because then you can.
Because that's their home. Like
that's their home.
They care more about it than anybody.
They're there
you know?
every night, every day. Like they don't want bullshit like guns being shot off at the park. I promise you.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm trying to find my words carefully, but it just feels like there's sometimes people that go there because they know like, oh, like I can go here and get away with almost anything. When it's like that's not what the people that like go there every day want to use it for. You know what I mean?
When all of that had happened, we were working in close correspondence with Noah, because years prior we had, for lack of a better word, with permission, and because we have the privilege of having a lot of friends who are skaters, like we, for lack of a better word, occupied that park, right? But I think we fell short of working with that community as close as we should have, and so last year we made it a point to really hone in and make those connections, shake the hands, and like start doing the work with Noah, who owns the only skate shop within like a 300-mile radius of like, you know, the city and stuff. And that coincided with like what you just talked about, like all the gun violence. And so he, I won't say like out of, you know, necessity or anything, was like looking to get more hands in the pot about that, like see who could like come to these city council meetings, advocate on behalf of like keeping the park open. And he expressed interest in us kind of being a sponsored team working with the city to like help maintain it or be responsible for it, because I think that was a stipulation they offered to him in like a meeting of like, if you find a group of people who are tasked with like maintaining the park and like forming some sort of community, you know, awareness about it, then we can like make sure that the park stays open. And I think he was interested in us being that, but we couldn't take that mantle up at the time. So
I don't even think that the onus is ours, just because I think that should be something that is left to those who call it their home.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've realized that some people aren't as supportive as they could be. They're judgmental. I think that's definitely the world we just live in right now, but it sucks to see it somewhere where we're supposed to just all be a community, go against each other. That's what sucks. Because yes, we are all family, but if we're family, why are we doing this to each other?
A similar argument could be made that we pay our taxes, why doesn't the city provide fun events like No Comply? You know, it starts from the grassroots, so.
Well, I think that's one of the things Noah was talking about. I mean, you mentioned a bit ago with the boulders. So he's been meeting with the city, trying to be like, hey, they're bringing like vehicles in here, and none of the skaters want this. So if you don't want like cars and like, I guess mini bikes, dirt bikes in places they shouldn't be, you have to adequately make sure they can't get in there. Because I guarantee you, skaters don't want to see that. I mean, like, yeah, sure, it's pretty cool to see someone like jump a ramp or whatever, but like you got to think there's like 10, 15 guys that could be skating that spot, that this person is now, you know, blocking everyone from using that area because they wanted to bring like a car in for like a cool like video or like a cool factor or whatever. It just kind of seems lame to me. But yeah, no, making sure that like stuff like that can't happen, that'd be a huge problem solver right there, or at least a start. One that I can think of that wouldn't step on anyone's toes.
It's sort of an inherent incongruency that exists there. You'll find damn near nationwide that a better example would be like skaters or like traditional skateboarders don't normally welcome or get along, stereotypically I'll say. Like this is not always the case, but stereotypically skateboarders don't tend to get along with like people who ride scooters, like the handle sort of scooters and whatnot. You know, they associate it with like younger kids who don't understand like the etiquette of the park, like waiting your turn to do a line, you know, being loud and like throwing stuff and kind of just occupying the park in the way it's not supposed to be used. So there's kind of that association with that as well. with each individual sort of clique based on the method of writing, so to speak, they are very tight-knit communities, and there's not always, it's not always a mosaic. It's kind of like the music scene, or any community really. It's like, it's easy from an outsider to look in and say, oh, well, you play punk rock, you play progressive metal, you guys must therefore be friends because you both play music, and that's not always the case. There's a lot of differences. And to your statement about like it being hard to make friends at the park, the park is like half of it. It is inherently a skate park. There's a function understood to be required as entry for that park, not like by mandate necessarily, but like socially, it's like you're not here to like go down a slide. You're here to like ride something and perform tricks or get better at it, and that is like that's what that glue. That's what the glue is that binds that community, is that we all ride something, and so that's my answer to it not just being a community space. There's a function inherent to that park, and that's how they understand it too.
Yeah, I think like probably the solution that comes to mind is the one that is not easy, and that is you would need to, as like a politician, city official, what have you, listen to the skaters. But from that perspective, the skaters aren't going to trust you because they see you as somebody to where if you are even asking their input, it's probably going to be performative at best. And to be able to like build up and establish like trust with that community, that would take you a long time. So that way it's recognized, here's somebody who is not only listening to learn, but they are trying to learn, so that way they can act upon that learning in our benefit. And I don't know of like any city officials that would see that community as worth that investment in time, which is a shame, but that to me would be like just the simplest of thing. You don't have to like necessarily pump money into it, just go and earnestly and honestly like listen and try to like build that bridge. But it's the adults at that city level, I don't know that they even see it as something they would want to do. They're too busy, probably making connections with businesses or something where they can get funding for their next campaign. Politics, I don't know.
It's really sad because I won't name their name, but Noah was meeting with someone pretty high up, to the mayor's office about these issues, about like, the boulder and like getting some of those things like upkept. And I think he even mentioned what was the half pipe.
Yeah.
Getting that fixed because like that is becoming a danger. And this person has popped up, said, yes, oh my gosh, we need to fix this. We need to do something about this. That was a year and a half ago.
It's crickets.
Yeah, there's nothing actually being done. So you see these officials come up and go, yes, we need to fix all this. And
while they're getting photos taken of
while they're getting photos,
but then,
and shaking hands, and then nothing happens. You see, it's been like a year and a half and nothing's there. That problem's still there. But they got that photo op. So it's kind of like you really need to put your money where your mouth is if you're going to like do that.
I'm going to bounce off of you and say that I think skaters get they get a bad rep. They get labeled as like cynical and distrustful and like pretentious and like cliquey and like distrusting of most people, and they have probably the most validity in feeling that way than any other community in the city that I'd say. Because imagine yourself a part of this community that is constantly vilified by like the rest of the country, like don't skate in my neighborhood, don't skate in my business, like don't scuff this up, you're a bunch of druggies and posers and punks, and they're criminalized, and yet they're like, we want you all to be in the Olympics. And on top of that, everybody wears like the clothes associated with your community, and they walk around like, pretending that they can skate or like, mall grabbing at the mall and stuff like that. People constantly want to extract the positive aesthetics out of your community without providing anything back or actually like being there for that community. And that's infuriating. And I level and resonate and understand and respect that so deeply. Like, of course you fucking hate the world. I would too if I were you, And to the thing about gun violence, I think that the park it's just a symptom of a larger issue. It's an area of town that invites people from all walks of life, And much like other parts of the city that go unrecognized, go unnoticed, it has gun violence, right? But I don't think that anything just to do with the park will solve that. That's like putting out the wildfire and not catching the arsonist, you know? Gun violence is what it is because of, you know, things like disproportionate, you know, like income and like food scarcity and like, you know, like the material resources of why gun violence exists is because of like, you know, crime in certain parts of the city. So it's a systemic nationwide issue that if you don't want to see gun violence in like parts of the city that are like, you know, more salient or like on certain parts of the city, it's like you got to fix it from the source. You know, it's not like you can just patch that and hope everything will be okay. You know, it's easy to look around and feel despondent about like your surroundings given like, yeah, like the abundance of alcohol and the abundance of like for-profit places to go. There's not a lot of places for people to go that are not trying to charge or trying to sell them a beer or what have you. And to that, I'd say that's where the DIY comes in as like the knight in shining armor, because when you look around and don't see any spaces where you can just be, people are constantly doing tireless work to carve out spaces where we don't need to charge you for admission or sell you a brew to keep the lights on, because these are spaces where we can carve out our own rules. So it's easy to lose hope, but dare to see the work that people are doing to make places that want nothing but the best for people and like to facilitate creativity and community and love and motherfucking happiness, you know, and like it's out there. You just gotta search for it. And I think you brisked your toes against that side of the pool when you went to that Belushi show. Like I urge you to look in the darker crevices of the city. There's cool shit happening.
Myself and one of the other members who's not here, we sat down with Will, who was sort of like acting as representative for you know, that community. And one of the things we talked about was like making sure that at least they've got some quote unquote security on their end to basically protect the park, because that was one of the frustrations that we ran into when we tried to do No Comply down there. And it's like we try to do our best to honor that community down there, but there are spots to where it's just, this is our unspoken parking lot. These are areas where you do not walk, and making sure that the skaters are able to put people up, because when you have a couple thousand people coming down to see these bands, for a lot of those people, that's their first time at the skate park. And so they're cluelessly walking in the ways of the skaters who were there every single night. And so when I spoke with Will, I said, we need to make sure that we've got people basically are protecting us. That way, if the skaters want to go down and they don't give a shit about the music, that's fine. What they want to do at the park is still protected. And so that's something that we're going to try to focus on better this year, is trying to make sure that their community is better honored without what we do interfering with it. Yeah, I sat down, we talked for about 3 hours. Yeah, because you know, when I first joined the team, you know, there had been like sort of a clash last year where No Comply added security because it had gotten so big, but that security presence, you know, with Will being our liaison, Will had basically expressed, it's like, you should not have this here. That's not something that is usually part of the park. And so in sort of like talking with Will and recognizing, oh, that's sort of a component that had to go with getting the event insurance and other stuff, also having to recognize, like, you know, for me, I was like, I can empathize why you are upset, because we asked you to be a sort of like, you know, an ambassador for the skating community and to give us insight on that when you have that better insight than any of the rest of us. And the team didn't listen to that. And so you feel dishonored, and it makes you look bad in front of the rest of the skate community. So trying to like better honor that bridge this year.
The reaction from the security is kind of what prompted the conversation that Bo's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So without like putting the specific person on blast, and when I talk about this, I want you to understand, like, I completely understand their perspective on this. It was just a situation where there's an unspoken parking lot down there. and we had been given permission to use that. And then one of the skaters had showed up and did not react very positively to that. Just the fact that we were taking up a space that is usually like, free game. And to me, like, I understand he's gone there every fucking day. He's able to park there every fucking day. Why, but I also understand, like, there's two sides to the story. So what Bo is kind of getting at is us, like, trying to talk to this community and be like, what would work?
Mm-hmm.
What would make it to where we're not stepping on each other's toes, we're benefiting each other, that kind of stuff.
I'm like the data geek of No Comply. I try to get like as much feedback as
You
I
actually
can.
carry that out, yeah.
Yeah.
So to speak on that for a second, we were fucking clowned on the first year.
That's why we have such a affinity for working with Will, because when we decided to do the first year, much like Johnny was saying, it was initially met with ridicule and like who are these posers, who the fuck are you all? And Will was our sole advocate for these are my friends, trust me, this is going to be cool. And we owe it solely to him and maybe a handful of few others who dared to give us a chance to see what these people setting up a stage and some amps were going to do. And that is a very unique privilege, and we are luck. I think I just think it comes down to we had the friends to begin with who were skaters, and they were willing to advocate for us, and we also disseminated a bunch of physical flyers, which is in the age of social media, people seeing on Bardstown or wherever that we posted them these, retro kind of flyers for a show. It's I think it grabbed attention.
We're not doing it to become another Louder Than Life. The fact that, because most people look at the festival or festival event and they think, oh, you're wanting to start a festival, I should say. It's we have a lot of different business leaders reaching out with well-meaning advice, but it's almost oh, you want to make money on this, right? And the fact that we're no, that's not what we're about. It confounds them. It in this day and age where everybody has a side hustle and it's all about making an extra buck, for us to be doing something where it's that's not why we're doing this at all, it confounds people. And so
it creates intrigue.
Yeah, and that I think is what has drawn so many people to it so quickly, is they're recognizing it's no, that's not the point of it. Plus just the combination of we try to do the hustle of making sure that we're connecting with the community too. So, we're not just rolling up and putting on an event where it's who is this, what are they doing? But it's we're trying to be very cognizant of, okay, here are all these just different cliques or circles within the music scene. How can we make a stage that's a Venn diagram to where No Comply's in the center, where we're bringing together crowds that have never been in the same location before, just by putting two different artists on the same bill.
But not only that, but uplifting both communities mutually, as the music, as the notoriety for the music increases, using that, gaining resources, gaining notoriety to then lift up our skating community, and then vice versa, you just synergizing,
One of the best outcomes of No Comply, from my point of view, at least from what I have seen, is I'll meet some people, and I'm sure, I know you've had this happen to you too, but I'll meet some people and they were yeah, dude, No Comply night, that's why I started my band.
Yep.
That is why I went and formed this band right here, because I was so inspired by that. And every single year that this has happened,
we're trying to model what we want to see
in our city.
In our city. And what we're trying to model is, if you want to go out and create, don't create for money or fame, create because it's this innate thing. And just because you can't get into a bar to perform, or you can't create your own space. And so that to me, I think, is even the greater inspiration than seeing bands that start up because of No Comply, but seeing the spaces to where it's blown some of our minds to see
Big Rock, man.
Big Rock, or the Tabs Alley show that they did.
That was legendary.
Just all the different bizarre ways that people have created spaces Because it's like
there's a lot of people who are in entertainment who kind of want to franchise themselves, and I personally think that is lame. I think that if your whole purpose for doing your creative pursuit is to put your face on a t-shirt and have your name in front of the incorporated sign, you shouldn't be doing it. Leave the business to the business people. Art is for, it's meant to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comforted, and you should leave it at that. And I think what I want more than anything out of being involved with No Comply is to, like you said, model for the 17-year-old me coming to that show and saying, no, stop letting these things stop you. You can do this. Get some of your homies, find that cave, find that abandoned building, do something. Yeah. Just don't let us be the only ones doing this, please. We won't be around forever. So
to quote Jack Foldina, because he said this to me, and it is really stuck with me when he said this to me. If you see No Comply, and that inspires you, go do something. Go do something, because you're feeling that for a reason.
I think the park is my perfect little petri dish in the city that exemplifies the tenacity of people who are not welcomed or supported by the nation at large and the cities they're in. But there exists a willingness to go out and do something every single day, not for profit, not for fame, not for notoriety, not for any of these other sort of reasons, just because you are. And I think the park, has its ebbs and flows, but if one thing's true, and if that thing is made of concrete the way it is, it will ride on.
Yeah, and anytime you have cultures to where that is their backbone, that scares a lot of others. Just because, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, when you give so much of your life to a passion and it's not about making money, that scares people. And then not only that, but that, as you said, that petri dish, you go down there and that is also a true pH test of your character, because
I'm so glad you said that.
Because skaters will see through your bullshit in an instant. And it's if you go down and any of these people that see it as a threat, if they're going down there and finding walls, that's a reflection of yourself. Because they're recognizing there is something about you once you set foot on there, to where it's the individual you project is not the individual who you are. And because that disconnect is apparent to them, that spidey sense goes on high alert once somebody sets foot on there. So I think that element of that culture scares people a lot as well too. But I think that's what makes it so beautifully pure.
I think the thing that I love the most about the park is that I've been able to go there countless times since I was 11 years old. And though, yes, you have spoke about bad things that have happened there, but a lot of positive experiences in my life I feel have happened there. And I think that place is a home to people that may not necessarily have a home. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it. And like you said, you're not going there to make money, you're going there for you, to get, to better a skill that is just purely for you. And I think that's beautiful.
My current roommate and the co-founder, I recognized him at the park one night because I used to attend local shows, and I recognized him from his band that he used to play in. And so I came over and we rekindled a connection that we'd made a year prior before COVID. And the period I'm talking about right now would have been the summer of 2021. And we started just shooting the shit, and we got along really well. And we were sharing a cigarette and walking along the perimeter of that bowl. kind of voicing grievances about how COVID had effectively shut down like the DIY scene, because most of it was run not at bars or music halls, it was at people's houses. It was at community third spaces that like had never, like those kind of spaces had never been utilized for things like that before. But with the advent of COVID, that completely went away, and we were kind of expressing like a yearning to spark that kind of spirit back up again. Lo and behold, we look into the bowl and we look back at each other, and both of us just like, we nodded at each other. We were like, here we go. And that's kind of how the zeitgeist got off.
I think in terms of like, money is not why you play No Comply at all. And in terms of like, how you play No Comply, like, I feel like when we are deciding who's gonna play No Comply, we look at like what you are doing for the music scene. And this could be anything. This could be you're picking up every show and playing every show, even though it's not the most lit show of that weekend. You are, doing things for the music scene and creating community and throwing other artists up on stage with you while you're doing things. I think there's a lot to look at when we decide who plays No Comply, but like money is not one of the things that is the big thing in No Comply.
Yeah, it's trying to like showcase those who best represent the DIY music scene in and of itself. Like, either through them really hustling through their music, or just that, like Johnny was saying, they're making all sorts of different connections, or basically they are trying to model the community they want to see through their actions in some way, shape, or form.
I've always thought about it as a showcase of what is the best, or maybe not the best, but one of the best things like happening in Louisville. Like, and then I think we have made it a staple since I think 3 to try to now like have this be like a more diverse like lineup. So you're not just coming and seeing like a bunch of punk bands playing the bowl, trying to diversify it a little bit.
Yeah, on the contrary to like, bands needing, or working for money, I think we took that principle, we borrowed that principle from those DIY house shows which we grew up going to, which was like pay what you can. We like, it is more important to us that you have an experience here and you make connections and like find where you're supposed to be and like find friends, find community, than giving us $10. Like that is so low on the totem pole of priorities to us, and we borrowed that. And I think that in tandem with it being an skate park bowl and it being such a phenomenon has kind of like mass exposed that kind of principle to the public. And that's why like in part I think No Comply is so popular to people, because they're like, here is this bitchin' thing that people are not trying to squeeze a buck out of me for. So
yeah, I mean there are enough festivals in Louisville to where you can pay $20 to like $150 for a single day, and the artists are making all, I assume some money through that. But for us, we kind of look at it as, just because you don't have that money doesn't mean that you should be deprived of like an awesome live music experience. So if you can only afford $1, then come on out.
Yeah, I think another way, like the way I'd sum up how, and I'm speaking for me personally, like the way I go about deciding who I give a thumbs up on like playing No Comply, and like this is somewhat of a shared sentiment, is like, I can almost sum it up with the statement of like, if you don't know this band, that's okay, but you should, and like pay attention, because like they're going places.
So this was No Comply 1. I believe at this point, Belushi's playing, me and Jake Nevitt are sitting above the bowl, kind of where that railing is. We're just kind of leaning over it. And we see these, they look like you'd play cornhole with them. Like these little bean pouches or whatever. What are they called?
Collar packets?
Yeah, okay, so So they're being tossed around, and I'm seeing them get tossed around in the crowd. This makes me kind of lean in, because I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at here? And then everybody starts breaking them open. And the entire bowl gets essentially smoked, right? So I'm like, oh my God, like what's going on down there? Is someone gonna suffocate, bro? And And then Jake goes, no, fuck that. That's our equipment, bro. all that's gonna go into our equipment. So fast forward to the end of the night, Belushi sets over, everything is in ruins, everything's mucked up.
What did you expect putting them on the bill?
So check this out. The moment that you spoke to me was the funniest ever, because I come over and I'm like, hey man, like, you know, what was up with this? And Bo looks at me and he goes, hey, you know, I thought you'd think this was real funny. We smoked the biggest bowl in Louisville. And I was like, I can't fucking be mad at you now, regardless. And we had to take, I believe it was Vern's equipment that year, that was the speaker monitors.
Oh, God.
We had to unscrew the speaker monitors, and there was like color muck
It was
inside
caked everywhere.
of all of the equipment that we used.
It was terrible.
So yeah, they'll run your equipment, bro.
I had a silver hair before Belushi went on that night. I had pink hair after that, permanently.
Like after they washed their hair, it was like pink.
Well, somebody had lobbed a color packet and it exploded. I had just dyed my hair like bright silver, and my hair was pink afterward.
I think when you're doing community projects, which I think a band, I think what I saw Belushi Speedball start out on was a community project. And
sure, yeah.
I think if you do not value the teammates on your community project that are making it what it is, it becomes something that it is not.